Ready? Not yet.
Yeah.
Countdown or not yet, Lalish?
Yeah, 1 minute, sir. Here, sir.
Okay. Just hold on for a while. These are distinct things.
Ready, sir?
Yes.
1 minute. So TV file is going, right?
Serious.
Countdown or not yet?
Ready, Andy? 10 seconds.
Yes.
Yes.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Good evening, viewers. Welcome to another show of Spotlight. My name is Krishna Vemuri. Today's Spotlight has been on Congressional District 12 from Texas. Texas is generally a Republican state, and there are 38 congressional seats, of which at present 13 Democrats are holding 13 seats, and the Republicans are holding 24 seats. One is vacant. So 38 seats are being contested for, and let's focus on District 12. There are about 700,000 people and 51% female and 48.4% males in the district, 83.1% whites and 7.8% blacks and 2.7% Asians. The unemployment rate before COVID is 8.1. High school diploma holders are 88% and college graduates are 28%. From this district, we have Lisa Wells contesting as a Democratic candidate. Welcome, Lisa. How are you?
Good morning. How are you? Yeah, actually, it's good evening. Hello, Krishna. How are you? I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Okay.
You know, you can't keep up with day or night here with this last 2 weeks of the campaign. It's 24/7.
Mm-hmm. So how is it working out, the campaign?
We're busy getting out there. You know, COVID slowed us down. We're having to find new ways to do things, finding new venues to get our message out, but we're getting there.
Okay. Little bit introduction about Lisa. Lisa Welsh was born in Midland, Texas. She earned a BS degree, BS in secondary science education from University of Wyoming in 1989, and an MS in biology from Texas Tech University in 2003, an MS in cell physiology and molecular biophysics from Texas Tech Health Sciences Center in 2010, and a PhD in reproductive physiology from Texas Tech University in 2010. Her professional experience includes working as a college professor. Welsh is affiliated with Society of College Science Teachers, TCCTA, the Texas Democratic Party, the Tarrant County Democratic Women's Club, and Texas Democratic Women. She also has served as the Weatherford College representatives for the Texas Women in Higher Education, as a member of Human Anatomy and Physiology Society, as a member of National Science Teachers Association, and as a member of National Association of Biology Teacher. This is the brief introduction about Ms. Lisa Welsh. Lisa, tell us more about yourself that we don't know.
So from that, I think that, my dad worked in the oil field. Well, I was born in Midland, but I was actually raised in Wyoming because I moved there when I was 2 years old. So I had this whole rural Wyoming ranching experience in my background. My dad was an oil field worker. My mom was a stay-at-home mom until we got in school, and then she was a school secretary. At that time, she realized how important education was and what a difference it can make in a person's life. So she spent a lot of time trying to figure out the education system so that I could go to college. So that's initially how I really managed to get to college, was my mom working with school teachers. I taught a year in Haiti after getting out of college with my secondary education degree, which was an amazing experience that I think everyone in the United States should spend time abroad in a foreign country for an extended period of time, not in their resort beaches, because it really gives you a new perspective on what we have in the United States. Came back, had children, helped my husband build his small business. So I've done a lot with building our small business, and then decided that I really wanted to get back into science. So I'm one of those non-traditional students that has this kind of start and stop education going on.
Okay. I have gone through your issues that you want to take up. Before that, being a professor, why do you want to run for Congress when Congress is predominantly occupied by most of the time lawyers?
Right. I spent a lot, with my students, we spent a lot of time talking about issues that were going to actually directly affect them. particularly since I taught human anatomy and physiology, we talked a lot about healthcare and healthcare disparities and how much time they were actually going to spend dealing with insurance companies and trying to get the care their patients actually needed. And so I became very passionate about making sure people had coverage and they were able to get the care they wanted. And I just looked at politics and thought, we need more diverse people in Congress, because how can you really say we're representing all of the population if most of the people in there are lawyers? We know we're not generally lawyers. We're all types of people, and we should have all types of people representing us in Congress.
Okay. That's when I read about, I again took two of your statements from your website, which states that you are the current incumbent and then Republican congressman. He's not paying as much attention as he should have paid to the district, because he has been a career politician and who has been being there for a long time. So that is one of your contention. How is that going to affect? And are you supporting the term limits?
So I do support term limits, mainly because I think once people get in there for a very long time, they tend to become more polarized. Mm-hmm. And I really think that is a big problem in our politics right now, is that we're so polarized that they've lost the ability to come together and really resolve and find solutions that most of us would agree on. When we talk about the topics, when I talk about the topics with my Republican neighbors, we agree to a great extent on what things that should be done. And when you get in politics, they tend to tell you you have to be different and you can't agree. And the longer you stay in politics, the more polarized you get. A lot of people, when they talk about term limits, they're concerned because you have these people who gain experience and you supposedly get better at something the longer you've been there. But there isn't any reason why we can't keep that expertise, because those people can serve as advisors, they can serve as mentors, they can serve in other roles, they can move from Congress to Senate, they can move back to their state politics. I mean, there's so many ways that they could stay involved, but keep changing so that they stay fresh.
You keep mentioning that, okay, you want to work with people from both sides of the aisle. And then you see nowadays, the politics are so divided that people are going more like on the party lines. How do you support a common cause with the person who is from the other side of the aisle when the parties are so hardline about their stances? Lisa.
Right. So I think we need to make sure we're voting in. When we vote for people, we vote for people, and instead of the party, so that you're agreeing more with their agreements align more with what your district is. I mean, my district is obviously leaning a little bit Republican, but we're pretty split 50-50. So we have neighbors, we agree on these things. I think in the most part, when we talk, the parties drive this line so that they can keep themselves established. But I think going forward, what we really learned in the past 4 years is that the public isn't happy with this. The public really doesn't want to see this strife and division that we have going forward. And so we need to make sure that we're really pushing hard to get resolutions and solutions done that the people want to see. And most of that really is bipartisan. When you talk to people, they want similar things done. It's the solution that we have to agree on. They agree that everyone should have health care. No one walks past a person in the grocery store that's had a heart attack and asks them if they have insurance. They call 911, get them help, and they expect them to receive it. So we're all on the same page there. It's how do we get there? That's the problem.
Okay, I understand. Nowadays, we hear a lot of variations in Democratic Party, far left to left, then socialistic, then progressive, then moderate, and then Democrat. How do you place yourself? Do you agree that there are so many versions, or it's basically a conspiracy theory, or people are just speaking about that?
Right. I really do think there's quite a continuum, and people can place themselves along it. And ideologically, I would place myself pretty far left. I mean, there's some really things I would really like to get done that are very far left, but pragmatically, I would say I'm a moderate. I have these ideals of where I'd really like to go, but pragmatically, I know where we can probably get.
So nice of you for being frank. Then one of the topic being the healthcare and then ACA, and you being you worked in reproductive cycle physiology and so many other aspects of the health. So I would like to know your opinion about ACA.
Right.
Affordable Care Act, and then yes, go ahead, please.
You know, the ACA really started out with a lot of great concepts. By the time it actually got to be law, just negotiating through even the Democrats, all the things that had to be given up and negotiated, it has some holes and gaps, and we need to fix those. And one of them is prescription drugs. They wanted it where the government could actually negotiate drug prices for Medicare and Medicaid, just like other private insurance companies can. That needs to be put in there for sure. We missed that. The other thing was they wanted a public option. So people could essentially buy into Medicare. That's going to be our public option, but they would have a public option to choose to buy into. That didn't happen. So we need to make sure we go back and get that in. One of the other things that they wanted to happen was to have price transparency, where literally you could go on to a provider's website and see what each thing cost. So if you needed an echocardiogram, you could literally compare the 3 places in your neighborhood that do that. By having price transparency, you know what you're paying. Whereas right now, if you have this insurance, they might actually bill one price. Whereas if you have another insurance, it's billed another price. And if you are privately paying, you pay a different price, and that shouldn't exist. So those are the 3 things I really think we need to start working on first. And then we can just keep moving.
So what you say is, instead of both the parties working on repealing or reinstating, you want to find out the problems with the existing things and try to fix both parties together. They have to try and then fix the problems existing. Am I right?
Right. We know that there's things that already work with the ACA. We know people they very much like having pre-existing coverage. They like being able to choose options and having the public exchange. I think the public exchange should be more transparent because people can't compare apples to apples. They can't see their whole plan. We need to make that a more transparent process. People like having their kids covered till the age of 26. On the states that have adopted Medicaid expansion, it's working very well for them. Texas is one of those that did not do this. And as a result, we have over 5 million people that are uncovered.
Do you think 1 week after the elections, this ACA is going to be repealed with the instatement of new judge?
I think it's going to depend on the outcome of the election.
It's going to be depending on
I really do. I think if there is a large outcry from the public and there is a large shift in who is voted into office, I think that may send a message that we really don't want to be moving in the direction that Trump has taken us and that he wants this court to take us.
You are an educator. You work as a professor. So tell us something about the public education policies that you want to work on, Ms. Lisa.
One of the things that I think we definitely need to work on is that we need to quit telling everyone they need to go to college and have a college degree. We spend a lot of time on talking about college. We talk a lot about funding college, and those are important. But there are plenty of really very well-paying jobs out there that don't require a college education. They require trade school. They may require an apprenticeship, but we need to be encouraging those as well. And what I want to see is us adjusting the K through 12 program so that we are getting people aligned so that they graduate with the ability to succeed very well in college, or they have the ability to go out and work at a job that they can support themselves.
I went through your plan about the public education and then your policies. If all your policies were to be implemented, then there will be a lot of taxes on citizens. I think the townships have to collect more taxes from their citizens. So how do you support this? How do you get so much more money?
Okay. One, I actually think part of it doesn't actually require more money. And part of this is something the state has to do. I mean, we have our K through 12 system is controlled by the state. It is funded by the state. There are things that I would like to see that can actually change our college system. One, if you are using your K through 12 system and you're allowing people to choose pathways that lead them to a trade degree, that lead them to getting the first few years of their college, because we have dual credit college now in Texas. If we're utilizing our K through 12 system well, that actually takes a lot of burden off our college system, because you're not funneling people who have no need for college. They're getting trade training in K through 12. They're going out, they're getting a job, it's well paying. They're actually contributing to the tax base, right? Because they bought a home at the age of 20.
Mhm.
So we can do those things. And we take so much of a burden off our college system, because then people who are really intent and that's what they need to do, get that college degree. And a lot of that comes in supporting counseling in our school, particularly career type counseling.
Mhm. Okay, that's fine. About the environment, there are a lot of things that are being going on. Like Trump says, environment hazard is a hoax, whereas there is a Green New Deal proposed by AOC and Square, and then there is a modified Green New Deal, and then you propose something called HEIR. Okay, tell us about your plan, and then what do you want to do about the environment, Ms.
Okay.
Welch?
So I do support Biden's plan better because, one, I think it's a little more pragmatic. It has realistic time goals that we can reach.
Mhm.
One of the things that I added to that was this AIR rating, HEIR, which is a humanity and environmental impact rating. Because I think consumers, when given full information and choice, will actually choose to make better environmental choices. And I put humanity in there too, because a lot of times we are producing goods, we're allowing jobs to be moved overseas, and they're being done with very poorly paid labor or in very dangerous circumstances or with child labor. And the same thing actually happens in the United States when we allow undocumented workers to work in the system, because they don't feel like they have a recourse. So a lot of times they're working in very dangerous, poorly paid conditions, and we should be watching for that. But environmental impact, if you have a company who's putting their waste into the water, if they're using non-recyclable plastics and they could use something different, I think consumers, if they had that knowledge, would change. And where I came up with that was, my husband works in heating and air conditioning, and all appliances have an energy rating. And at first, people kind of ignored it. But now people are really paying attention, and they ask for very specific energy rated appliances. We also see it with calories being put on all of the menus. You know, I now choose differently. People used to choose the salad, but salads actually have more calories than, steak with a side of broccoli or something. So people are choosing differently when they have information. And that's what I want to give them through that system.
Okay, that's very nice of you. Okay. How do you end the debt for the students? And then you see now, like the big colleges, or small to big colleges, they're amassing a lot of endowment, and still the kind of the scholarships they are giving to the people is not so much. And then a lot of the students are going into debt because of various reasons. They're getting a lot of federal grants, and then they're spending some, and then the rest is going to endowment. And endowment, they're not spending so much into scholarships. I think there are some universities which are hundreds of billions of dollars as endowment. So tell me about your plan, how to end the student debt.
Right. Actually, that's a really complex subject. And I have this, I raised 3 kids. One of them is in medical school, so she has a lot of debt. And we talk about this and how there needs to be some financial counseling. And luckily, she ended up, between me and some other mentors, getting really great financial advising about student loans, what they were really going to end up costing you in the end. She has chosen a cheaper apartment all along. She's not bought new furniture because she didn't want to add up those student debts, because she got really good financial advice. And that's one of the things we need to be giving our students, is that financial advice, so they know what they're doing when they're taking on student loans. We also need to be advising them about their career choice and their degree plans. What can you realistically expect to make in what timeline? The first 3 years you're out of college, the first 10 years, 20 years, what is your projected income? So students are actually choosing wisely to take on student debt, and they're choosing wisely to pick up certain careers. There are certain professions that we need more of in the United States, and we should be trying to support those with student loan payback programs. As far as other students, we should be expanding our Pell Grant program. I would never say we should pay back all student loans. There are people who took student loans that should not have. And there are people who certainly could have afforded school who still took out student loans. And that would just be irresponsible. And it would be rewarding that irresponsible behavior.
Okay, one more question. You being the professor and teaching a lot of students in the university, recently Trump has been telling that there is a lot of indoctrination is happening against the American values, and that has to end. So tell me, comment on this one, please.
I don't really think there's indoctrination occurring. I know a lot of college professors, and I know that I don't, my students went, before I actually ran for Congress, so now they know my political views. They're out there for everyone to see. But before that, they literally were uncertain of whether I was Republican or Democrat. They were uncertain of whether I was pro-life or pro-choice. They were uncertain about many things, because I gave them both sides to the best of my ability, because it's for them to choose. They take in the information, they take in the knowledge and the facts, and then it's for them to make up their mind. And I think most college professors adhere to this. They're giving them the best knowledge they can, and just because students come away with a more enlightened view of the world does not mean we're indoctrinating them.
Okay, no, fine. Because see, I'm asking these questions because I haven't got a person yet who is working in college as a professor. So maybe it's horse's mouth. I'm trying to know the things from the people directly who are in the college. Okay, there's one more thing about the freedom of speech. He signed an executive order about freedom of speech, stating that especially in the universities, people from the other side are not letting, speak about their views. Okay, so this is what is this claim, and a comment on this one, please.
Okay, so
freedom of speech. Yeah,
we actually talk about freedom of speech a lot, because students are like, okay, we want our freedom of speech, but also I'm imparting facts about the subject. And I really am not going to entertain a rant of a student about something that has no scientific basis within the classroom. If they want to take that outside the classroom or onto their social media, that's fine. But I think college professors do have some ability to control the direction of conversations within their classroom, particularly when it's completely unfounded and off topic. Oftentimes in my class, if it's on topic, we will explore some outside views and concepts. as far as on campus, if you want to have groups, if you want to have meetings, if you want to, whatever you want to put on your social media, free speech all the way. You know, we have free speech areas. That's great too.
Mhm. Okay, let us take a small break and then we'll continue, Lisa.
Okay.
Okay, welcome back. That is a short ad. Okay. Do you believe work equity?
I'm sorry, I missed that. What?
Work equity.
Work equity?
Yeah.
I think we have some work to get there. I do believe we need to have work equity, but currently we know that women make less than men for the same job in the same profession with the same experience. We know that gets even worse when you talk about women of color.
Mm-hmm.
We know that it's a difference between men of color and their white counterparts.
Mm-hmm.
So we have some work to do there. And I don't think that when we talk about this, I think people get very inflamed because they don't want to be called prejudiced.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think most people ever work to
Mm-hmm.
be prejudiced or try to be. I think a lot of us harbor that because of our upbringing, the people we were around, the experiences we've had, and we constantly have to examine ourselves for those that we're not realizing are there. And then we'll be able to get our work equity to where it needs to be, but we need to purposefully move that direction.
The problem of work equity, I think you use two terms here, like one is racism and then sexism. Is it because of racism or is it because of sexism?
Both. It depends on the person. Yeah. So, you know, it's just so ingrained. We're just constantly going to have to work on it. And it does help to have trainings to say, when you say this is what another person hears. I know that women are constantly changing their language patterns to seem less aggressive. So they don't speak the same way as their male counterparts do. And it makes things more difficult. They've also been trained to work really hard and be recognized, where men have been trained to ask for what they want. We just have to constantly keep adjusting and changing that, both women presenting themselves better and men recognizing those differences. Same with race.
Mm-hmm. Was there racism existed before Trump, and then is it existing now?
Oh, it's always been in existence.
Okay.
Trump just really made it where it was okay, right? It was okay to say these things out loud.
Okay.
You know, I live in Texas, so the Confederate flag waving is just a bit of craziness around here.
Oh, okay.
I think people just feel more comfortable expressing it than they might have before.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we need to basically become a more civil society and understand racism is in existence. Mm-hmm. And a lot of these people who are waving the Confederate flag are saying they're not racist, but they don't understand what they're doing is actually a racist act.
Do you feel that we lost civility in the society these days? Maybe especially because of these elections, especially. We
did.
Maybe.
That even watching the political commercials, which are just constant now, I think they're, and maybe I'm just more sensitive, but they seem so negative now, and they seem so cut and dried. Like, if you're attacking Republican, these are the things you say. And if you're attacking a Democrat, these are the things you say. And it honestly doesn't matter if that person supports them or not. I mean, I'm a Democrat. My family owns guns. We support the Second Amendment rights. So when somebody comes out and says she's a Democrat, she wants to take your guns, well, I've never said that. Mm-hmm. But they will use those terms just as labels, and we've very much got there.
Okay, anyway, you touch based on guns and gun violence. Tell about your policy of gun reforms, or yes, people say, oh, Democrats are going to take away your guns. So answer for that one.
Right. So I grew up with guns. My dad was a hunter. We literally probably wouldn't have had meat on our table for probably the first half of my life if he hadn't hunted, because it was something very cheap to do in Wyoming. But I grew up with a great respect for guns. And that was just imparted to me. We had everyone in my school took hunter safety. So we knew about guns. We understood how they worked, how to handle them properly and safely. And that's what I want to see from our gun owners today, is that they safely know how to handle and operate a gun if they're going to own one.
So you say that
like a car, we don't let people out on the street without some safety training.
Okay. You say that not all the Democratic representatives may repeal the guns or confiscate the guns.
You know, I don't really think there's any Democrats who are saying they want to take all the guns. I really don't think there's any of them that are saying we don't want you to own guns. We're saying we want you to safely own them. And we want to be able to know to some extent that we're keeping them from the hands of people who shouldn't have them.
Being Texan, do you support borders, or you want open borders, Ms. Welch?
I don't think any country can exist. How can you call yourself a country if you don't have borders? That is your defining line. We need to have controlled, safe borders, because we don't want to see trafficking of drugs across our border. We don't want to see trafficking of humans across our border. That just puts them at higher jeopardy. We need to have safe, secure borders. What we need is an immigration system that brings people into our country legally with a fairly decent timeline. We don't want people lining up for months in tents outside the border. That's just ridiculous. We know we need those workers here. Why aren't we expediting worker visas at all levels, not just for college graduated engineers and scientists? We know we need construction workers coming in. We need workers at all levels coming in. We know our economy runs on it. And when they come in legally, it's so much better for not only us, but for them. They're protected. They're getting the proper pay. They're getting benefits. They can live. They don't have to worry about their landlord taking advantage of them in the home they're renting. So
you are almost speaking Trump's words. Being a Democrat. Okay.
Not really. I want immigration. I just
okay.
Let's go through the gate and everybody be here and not be afraid to come out. People are so afraid. They're afraid they're going to be picked up by ICE, and they're afraid. Let's expedite this. Let's speed it up. Let's make sure you have your documentation.
What do you say about this 11 million people who are, basically undocumented immigrants or illegal immigrants, whatever way you want to call? So what is your policy about these people?
You know, we created that problem. The past administrations have created that problem. Congress has created that problem by absolutely refusing to deal with the immigration issue. So if we now implement this new immigration policy and we're saying, okay, everybody coming in, we need you to do these things. We're going to expedite the process. We allowed those 11 million people to be here. We're going to have to expedite the process and not send them back to their country to do that. They're going to need to have time and a process that is not lengthy and it is not expensive, because a lot of times we really make it impossible for somebody to do what's legal because it's so expensive and it's so time consuming. We need a process that they can go through to become legal citizens, to get that pathway to that legal citizenship. here in the United States.
Mhm. I think
We
this is,
let them do this.
yeah, I think this issue came for discussion in Senate as well as House of Representatives along with White House sometime back. I think in the first year of Trump's presidency. He wanted, in lieu of giving citizenship to these guys, uh, he wanted that lottery system and then chain migration shall be stopped, and then immigration should be put in some order for the immigration. So maybe they would have agreed, Democrats at that point of time. What do you say?
I'm sorry, I'm not quite sure what question I meant.
Okay, the question is this giving citizenship, path to citizenship to the illegal immigrants, 11 million people. This issue came for a discussion among the three bodies, like the White House as well as the Congress as well as the Senate. And then there was, I think, the talks were stalled because of they were not agreeing. The thing is, like Trump wanted the lottery system to go away in immigration, as well as the chain migration should go away in lieu of this illegal,
Right.
11 million people. So wouldn't it have been a better thing?
So you have
to-
11 million people. Can you imagine the chaos if we tried to make everybody leave the country and re-enter? This is just never going to work.
Mhm,
Most of them are here. They have jobs, they have homes, they have families, they have kids in our schools.
mhm,
Obviously, we're going to have to just agree that that is a process where they need to be moved towards legalization and citizenship. As far as who gets to come in from the outside, this lottery system, really, we just want to randomly pull people out of a bowl that you get to come here.
mhm,
They can apply. We know how many workers we need. If you know that you need however many workers and you're not meeting that, then you can apply and say, we need so many work visas.
mhm,
You allow people in who want to fill those work visas.
mhm.
If you we need a lottery. That's just weird. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
pulling
yeah,
people
yeah.
out of a fishbowl.
I feel that for the people who are already in the country, we should have let them go who did not come to the country yet. Anyway, that's their problem. Okay.
Right. So
I think most empathetic problem is LGBTQ, and both parties agree, I think, on the issue. Tell me how you are proposing to solve the problems of LGBTQ.
well, I think that just comes down to the same as we have for gender or race or LGBT. We're all humans. We all deserve the exact same human rights.
Mhm,
And we need to be enforcing that and making sure they're getting them.
mhm, mhm. Okay, that's fine. Do you comment on the recent violence that took place in different places of the country, and then the peaceful processions? Can you comment on those things? Your views?
Are we talking about the protests and
Protests and then violence during the peaceful protests.
okay, right.
Protesters, rioters, and then people who are vandalizing versus the peaceful protesters.
I definitely think we need to always encourage peaceful protesting. Quite unfortunately, very few things have happened in our country's history that wasn't perpetuated first by a protest. You can start with the Boston Tea Party, but you can move to civil rights. You can talk about women's right to vote. All of those happen through protests. So we need protests. It's a way for us to get out and really voice our opinions and have that freedom of speech. What we need to stop is the rioting and the looting and the violence that occurs with it, because it's counterproductive. It actually takes away from the actual message that is trying to be delivered by the peaceful protesters. And in many of these cases, sometimes it has been the protesters themselves that have initiated the looting or rioting, but a lot of times it was outside people that initiated that purposely to take away from the message.
Do you think that BLM has been hijacked by some people who are anti-social elements?
Oh, I do think so. I mean,
Okay.
I think there is definitely a very good message with the BLM movement, but there's also people who try to take advantage of that and try to create dissent amongst us.
Okay, I think one question which is of very important is like emails are not leaving Democratic Party. It looks there were some 26,000 emails now, and then some 33,000 emails then in the previous election. So I think do you know about Hunter Biden's emails, and then he is involved in a lot of amassing wealth? Did you hear the news?
I'm sorry.
Hunter Biden's emails,
okay,
some
Hunter Biden.
26,000 emails were recovered or given by his partner. And then there is a lot of problem that's happening only in the Republican circles, but not in the mainstream media. Can you comment on that one, Ms. Lisa?
I don't know how much of an informed comment I can make. I think we don't have enough information about Hunter Biden's emails yet. Obviously, the two sides have taken it and given us completely different information. And I think we need some more fact-based information of where the emails originated from, how they were recovered, the timeline of actually possession of those emails and that hard drive. We need more information to actually validate that information that's coming out. And I really don't think we're actually going to get that before the election.
Okay.
People are going to have to make their decision based on how they're viewing that.
Okay. One more question is like you said that you are very busy with a small district of less than 1 million people, crisscrossing and then meetings and so on and so forth, managing your advertising budgets. But I hear in news that Joe Biden is taking 4 days off for preparing the presidential debate. Is it justified? The way you are working, this is maybe embarrassing question, but I just want you to comment.
I think he should prepare his 4 days. One of the reasons I'm so busy is I actually have a full-time job teaching in addition to being a candidate. Okay. So I'm combining 2 full-time jobs to do this. You know, Vice President Biden has a lot of assistance, a lot of help. He has a lot of people out there getting his message out. I really think
a lot of surrogates, yes. Yeah.
For this debate to go well. I think people were very disheartened with the last debate. And it just drove home how much friction there is in the country. And I want this debate to go well.
What are you expecting from this debate, apart from the quorum, decent quorum? What are you expecting Biden to say?
Oh, well, let's go back. One of the things I expect from this debate is more civility, because I hope they mute the mics. That's one of the things I very much hope for out of this.
Yeah, they're doing it.
Because I think that if they follow this more civil pattern and Biden gets his time to speak, I think he'll be able to more fully tell people about his plans and to be clear about them. Like when Trump tries to drive that Biden wants to raise taxes on everyone. It's been very clear what Biden has said is that taxes will go up for people who make more than $400,000, but that gets lost when you're being talked over for the whole time. I'm hoping more civility will allow Biden to fully tell people what his plan is.
Yeah, this is generally the problem. Either party is taking out of context and quoting. I have heard the first debate between John F. Kennedy and Nixon. I was actually surprised. Immediately after Kennedy spoke, Nixon says, "So I agree with Mr. Kennedy," and then he starts his views. I think now the parties are so divided, and there has never been an election like this. Now, as the last segment, I request you to tell our viewers and then your voters and people in America, whoever watches this one, first your Democratic Party colleagues. Any message that you want to give or anything you want to tell, you're welcome now.
Right. I just want to tell people that we're meant to represent our population. And even though we run under specific party, a Democratic Party or Republican Party, which I really would like for us to move away from, I think we need more parties in the United States to represent people better. But once you're elected, you are bound to represent everyone in your district, not the 51% or 53% or however many voted for you. You're obligated to go find that other portion of the population and to represent them as well. And that's what's driving our division in the United States, which we cannot afford to have, is that they feel unrepresented because once that somebody from the other party gets in, they're ignored. And all we have to do is spend some time talking to them to realize that fundamentally there are some fringe edge people, right? But fundamentally, most people believe in the goodness of the human race and want us all to have the same things. We want a safe place for our children. We want to have good schools for our children. We want to have jobs that help let us support our families or to have a home. Fundamentally, we have those deep set values that we believe in, and we need to go back and find that foundation. And that's why I'm running, is because I want us to find that human element in every person and try and represent that.
Okay. Thank you very much, Lisa. Thank you so much. And you once again proved that people are good, parties are dividing them. Thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for having me tonight. I really appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you, viewers. Tomorrow we'll come up with another Texan running for District 1. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.